What's going on, Phillies fans? Big Al here, bringing you the Phightins final tonight, Tuesday, May 30th. First game of the series, first game of the year against the New York Mets, and unfortunately, the Phillies fall 2-0 to the Mets. Unfortunately, it's not the way we would hope to start, but I kind of find um some solace in what I saw tonight. Again, story of the Phillies this year, consistency, and consistency is saying that, okay, well, the pitching was better tonight, but the bats were cold as ice. Actually, they couldn't get anybody on second base. Only a couple runners hit first, or couple runners were on first base, but a couple steal attempts. But unfortunately, that they showed nothing for it. Had nothing to show for it. Couldn't get a run over. Couldn't get a guy in scoring position, and ultimately, that's where we're at. What's up, Daniel Berry? Sports highlights. What's up? What's going on, bud? Hopefully, you're doing better than watching what we watched with the Phillies tonight. But we're going to break all that down. Like I said, it was a pitcher's duel, I guess, in this case. 2-0 loss. Phillies lose the Mets. And I remind you guys that this is brought to you by Sherry'sTickets.com. That's right. Go to Sherry'sTickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. Great prices. No hidden fees. You're not going to get bamboozled at the checkout. Sports, concerts, theater, you name it, they got it. And you get yourself an additional 10% off by using that great EOP promo code. That promo code is EOP10. So check it out. Sherry'sTickets.com. So we're going to go over this real quick. We'll start with the scoring, and all the scoring was on the side of New York this time. And there's only two times. Only the one flub on Rangers game today was the solo home run from Francisco Lindor in the fourth, making it 1-0 Mets, and then a little insurance run from and this was at the hands of Connor Brogdon, who let Starling Marte score on a single ground ball to second base. Bryson Stott. And then here we are, 2-0, and that is all the scoring you're going to get in tonight's game. But that's all the scoring the Mets needed to give the Phillies another loss, bringing them 25-29 on the season. Coming out of this weekend's 4-game series, they had off yesterday, of course, for Memorial Day, which was an odd thing. Talked about this last year at the time with the 4th of July. It was odd not to have a Phillies game on then. It was definitely odd not to have one on yesterday. But they were able to split. We were hoping for a series win, but they fell apart Sunday. And we're able to split 2-2 against the top of the division Braves. But hoping to come to New York, make some moves, have a better game. The Ranger Suarez has not had a great start to his late start of the season, but didn't have a great start yet. And tonight was a really good start for Ranger. Everything we could hope from Ranger Suarez. He kept it to a 1-0 game, a 1-run game the entire time. He went 6 2 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 Ks, and the 1 solo homer. He came in with a 9.82 ERA and left with a 7.13 ERA. That's 2.7 points down. So that's a really good outing for a guy who started the season late, has struggled as of lately, trying to find his way. So if you want to take, like I said, if you want to take a victory lap, a moral victory lap, I know we're not in the moral victories, but it's good to see him start to come around, because we need our 1-2-3 punch to really get better, especially if the bats are going to be cold. Hopefully one more day of May and June will come around and we'll start seeing some guys start to warm up. Kyle Schwarber and anybody, Trey Turner and anybody else who really wants to start producing. That would be nice. Let's see, play-by-play with JJ. I'm not upset with the loss. Ranger looked good. And even though Cody dominated, I feel like we can win these next 2 games. I agree with you. I don't think they're out of it in any which way. I believe they can win these games. And it's really like, it's the story of this season, JJ. Like, tell me if you agree with me or you don't agree, whatever it is you want to do. They just never are on the same page. If the bats are on the same page, the pitching's not on the same page. If the pitching's on the same page, the bullpen's not on the same page, or the defense is lacking. It's just always something with this team. In certain teams you can overcome that, but divisional rivals who are above you in the standings, it's really hard to get on board with that. And I think that's why, okay, you agree with me. I think that's why teams are frustrated with this team. I'm sorry, fans are frustrated with this team because of that reason. It is killer. It is killer. And like you see, like we've always had these. How many little stretches that they did well? They had like a 5-game winning streak. They swept a little mini series against the Blue Jays, and you're like, all right, this is what they need. This is that diving board that they need to get better and become more consistent, and they don't. And it's especially with the bats. I mean, this team was built to be carried by the offense, and the offense isn't there. It's struggling as of lately. I mean, let's look at this. You had only, let's see, 2 hits on the night, one by your first baseman filling in for Rhys Hoskins at Cody Clemens. He was 1 for 3. And a pinch hit in the 9th inning from Josh Harrison, who was pinch hitting for Guthrie, how do you say his name? Guthrie. So, that's again, story of the game right there. It's you're only going to you can't get production from the top 4 or 5 guys. Now, one of the stories of tonight was also no Bryce Harper. There's no Bryce Harper tonight. They said they're letting him rest. They wanted to give him a 2-day in a row rest, so it was either going to be Sunday into Monday or Monday into Tuesday. They opted for Monday into Tuesday, most likely because of Sunday night football. I don't 100% believe that. I'm not sitting there saying there's a conspiracy that he's injured or something. I just think he might have been having a little soreness, and he was like 0 for his last 10 or something. I mean, he's been playing well. He's for a guy who just came back, didn't have any rehab start, and it's just this team. They need to. I don't know if it's a manager thing. I think it's just like a team thing. Like they're pressing. I guess I could say pressing is a good word for it. Like they're always worrying about knocking a ball out to knock the score down. I mean to get on the board or close the gap on the score. Instead of just getting out there and making contact with the ball. I think it's a lost art sometimes with this team, and they know they have the power to do so. JT knows he can do it. Castellanos knows he can. Schwarber, of course, that's his bread and butter. But sometimes, and Bryce, he does his best, man. He just, he'll bunt the ball and get on base. Like he don't care. He just wants to get on base. Bloop single, like something. Like you gotta get the juices flowing. And it's like this team starts getting it just does not click all at the same time. And are we just holding our breath for another day for June? Time will tell, right? Time will tell. I'm just tired of that narrative. Like, are we gonna do this every year? As while these guys are on the team, that it's gonna be we have to wait to June to see some meaningful baseball. Listen, I know the story is we did this last year and look what we did. But do you guys think that's gonna happen again? Like I go to the Eagles situation, do you think like if Jalen Hurts got injured and we had to go with our backup quarterback, it was gonna be a Nick Foles scenario all over again? No. And you can't expect that to happen every year. They have to play some better, meaningful baseball, and it's frustrating. Like I said, but I'm not 100% mad about the loss. I'm glad that I would have loved to get Ranger a little run support, and a little run support would have went a long way, made a much different game. But this isn't what this isn't that type of thing. It isn't what we saw. So hopefully we can see a change there. And guys, talk about good defense a little earlier. CherryInjuryLaw.com 610-565-0300. David Cherry is the man for your workers' comp needs, your motor vehicle accident, personal injury, criminal law, you name it, he will take care of you. Go to CherryInjuryLaw.com or simply call him at 610-565-0300. David R. Cherry will fight for your rights. And guys, don't forget to check out the rest of the EOP lineup this week. Talking Philly sports with Matty P just ended. Of course, I'm doing the Phightins final right now. We had the Birds of the Round Table earlier yesterday for a little Memorial Day talk. Tomorrow night we'll be coming at you left and right. Party on Broad, followed by Philly Press Box Radio. Of course, myself, Joe, and Fred on EOP Sports Live. And then the Phightins final, of course, with the Mets' second game of the series. Tacking third with Talking Union Soccer on Thursdays. Saturday mornings with the Patterson Ave. And Sunday mornings with Mike and Pat, PM and the AM. And all across all the time. Check it out, guys. Great stuff all the time. Follow us on all social medias. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, we're on it, and we're posting stuff daily, constantly. Keep you up to date on all the Philly sports stuff. And please, please, join in. I love when people chime in. It makes these shows much better when we hear from you guys. Let's see. JJ's back at it. Last year is last year. This is 2023, man. I'm like, I agree with you. And I feel like that's like the narrative. Well, look what we did last year. Well, it's not going to happen again. There's no that was a magical year. We use the term all the time. It was a magical year. Magic doesn't happen all the time, and you can't sit on your laurels and just wait for something. It's not handed to us. And that's why I feel like, there needs to be a little bit more sense of urgency. Not urgency, oh, we're going to be out of it and we're going to be done for the rest of the year. Just a little sense of urgency to play more better, consistent ball. I'm not mad about the loss, but I will be mad if this team loses the series. Good point, JJ. I mean, it would really bring home, it takes a game like this, it takes a little bit of the burn out of a game like this. I mean, I would have loved to win this game just to help Ranger. Ranger needed this. Ranger, he pitched like we've seen Ranger pitch. You can talk about 2022, like he did in 2022. Almost 7 innings. He only let up 5 hits and 1 run off of 1 bad pitch left up in the zone, which, by the way, Cody Senga did that a couple times, but the guys did not, they didn't play off of it. There's a couple of mid to high 80-mile-per-hour balls left up in the zone, and guess what? Schwarber could have went to town on one of them, but all he did was go to town on a Wawa hoagie, and that just didn't play out. That's when I'll be mad about this loss. Yeah, no, you're right. Sometimes, like I said, I don't. Anybody, obviously, JJ, you cover sports. I can see from your name as well as your, your background there. You talk, this is a marathon. Phillies baseball in general is a marathon. Like, you can't get upset about a single loss. It's just a drip in the pump. But it's this thing that's not. It's the same scenario, the same constant, inconsistencies of the parts not being on, every piece of the not clicking on all cylinders, and they need to do that. And I love how people are talking about, oh, they should talk about firing not Joe Girardi, Rob Thompson. I'm like, we got to fire a manager every June just to get this team going. I don't think so, guys. That's just pure ridiculousness. Joey Sullivan checking in. We need this version of Ranger going forward. Absolutely. I mean, I wasn't worried about Ranger. A lot of people were like, oh, we can't do this. Our starting pitching's terrible. Zach Wheeler is the most consistent guy and everything else after that. I'm like, I'm not worried about Ranger on a third start. I mean, it's his third start of the year. He didn't really get much of anything else. So, agreed, Joe. This is the Ranger we need, but I wasn't really worried. I had a feeling that Ranger would come back to the way he was, But pitching can be affected by batting. Why batting can be affected by pitching? Because if these guys, if the batting keeps doing it and these guys have to go out and press like Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nolan and Ranger Suarez, then it's going to cause the other aspects to struggle because you're going to be overthinking things. Like I said, when they come to the plate, they look like, we're down 0-2. It's the 7th inning. It's the 8th inning. It's the 9th inning. We can't just put a ball on the bat. We got to wallop this ball. We got to doubles, triples, and home runs. Of course, we would all love that. But just getting a bloop single is how you start. Get somebody on base, get somebody to steal second, another bloop single. You got guys too. These are the kind of things that they need to have to be, with the term, consistent. And that's going to be the motto of most of my post-game shows. If this all continues to happen, is consistent. And they are far, far from it. I'm also hate to make the excuse, but Bryce Harper being out also changes everything about the complexity of this lineup. Agreed. Again, I think he was sore. I think they needed a couple-day rest for him. They saw the Memorial Day break as the best option for him. And they said, all right, well, he's probably having some swelling and soreness. Let's let him calm down. I don't think he's going to be anything in particular. I don't think it's anything long-term, I should say. I think it's just he needed a rest. If it's his spring training, it was like his 4th start. Everyone has to chill with Ranger. Yeah, I know. I mean, listen, that's what, again, JJ, this is what we do. We have to be analytical. We have to try to keep our emotions out of it, but sometimes that's a difficult thing. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't worried about Ranger. Yeah, he came in here with a 9.82 ERA, but he also dropped over almost 3 points on his ERA just with this one start. So again, not worried about it. Hopefully this consistent thing happens and he can do this close to every game. But, maybe with some run support would be nice. That's the difference. But But guys, if you we talk about the Phillies, we talked about getting your tickets at Cherry's Tickets. But if you want to take a trip somewhere, I go to phillysportstrips.com. They have all the away games lined up and ready to roll for you at phillysportstrips.com for the Eagles away games this year. But there's plenty of Philly sports trips coming up. I'm sorry, not Philly sports trips, but Phillies sports trips coming up this summer. And the closest one right now is a trip that I've taken. And by the way, you have to try it if you haven't been there yet. Go to Wrigley Field. They're going June 28th to July 1st. One fell swoop will get you tickets to the game. We'll get you a hotel, flight, and just great times, great experience, parties, meeting other players, ex-players. It's not just a trip; it's an experience. I say it all the time. Maybe they should make that their motto. Philly Sports Trips, not just a trip; it's an experience, and it really is. And I've been on many of them. I'm not just saying this because they're a sponsor. I'm saying this. I've been on many different ones with different companies, and these guys put on the best show and the best bang for your buck. I'm going to tell you right now, can't beat it. phillysportstrips.com. And like I said, the most recent one coming up is the Chicago trip. Let's get back to some of the comments here. Joe Sullivan saying, Eflin and Gibson both flourished elsewhere. Is there something with the pitching coach? I kind of brought that up on one of my shows, Joe. You have to start looking at something at one point. Is the pitching issue? I mean, there's injuries, of course, and that starts with that. But there's the consistency factor. But then again, is it the batting coach? And we have one of the best batting coaches in the league, so that's different. But I don't know if it's the pitching coach, but it's a hard answer. It's really it could be, maybe it's a little too early to answer that, but not that early. So I mean, something has to change. But I mean, again, we've seen better pitching from Aaron Nola. Was better, but not great. His last start. Zach Wheeler went 8 innings and just dazzled, as we know he can. So can't blame him on that one. Ranger on his 4th start now is looking a lot like the Ranger we know. So I can't blame him on that. And who's left? I mean, Taijuan Walker is Taijuan Walker. I mean, like this is the guy that you knew we were getting. I knew a lot of Mets fans were coming at me like, just wait, guys. His inconsistencies could drive you nuts because he can go out there and play like an ace at one time, and the next time just put up a stinker like he did in San Fran and not even get through the first inning. So again, we have to hope that changes. Is Bryce Harper hurt? DL move looming? Fred, I don't think so. I don't think that's it at all. I mean, we'll find out, but I think there was some swelling and some soreness, maybe. This is just speculation. I'm not saying this is, gospel. But I think he needed a break, and they found this as the best opportunity to get him. They said it was scheduled, but I wonder a little bit. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But I don't know if a DL move is looming, but definitely they're trying to find spots where he can stretch out along a couple days in a row. So we'll find out. JJ say I'm also so happy most of the bullpen got rest tonight. How many times has a starter gone at least 7 innings for us? Not many. I probably a handful, less than 10, I think at this point, but it's starting to grow. I mean, that's the good part. Like we're getting guys into the 6th and through the 6th. I mean, Ranger got almost through 7 innings. So yeah, I mean, JJ, absolutely. Brogdon's another one. He's kind of up and down. He goes out and he dazzles and then, doesn't, and then other times doesn't look, spot on. So, and then you had Marte again. Marte is looking better since coming back up. 2 strikeouts, only 1 walk. Was able to keep the game within reason. So it was just the one from Brogdon and the one hiccup from Ranger Suarez tonight. Ranger will be fine. He needs to get it legit. We need to get a legit number 5. Yeah. I mean, I just find it so hard to believe they can't bring somebody up from the minors yet. Like, at what point? I'm not saying hit the panic button, but you need a number 5. And this, I don't know if it's Covey or Covey. They got from the Dodgers. I mean, I know he's only been 2 spot starts. The first one, it wasn't even a start. He kind of took over after a couple innings, and he did okay, did good. The last one, no, we all know how that happened. That was Sunday, and he didn't even get out of the first inning and gave up 7. So yeah, that wasn't happening. So agree with you, Joe. We need just a Joe Blanton-esque type player, just somebody who is going to keep it 3 runs or less and give you a fighting chance. But when you have to give up 7 runs in the first inning, that's a large mountain to climb. So it's difficult. But in this time, and if the bats are cold, it's even harder mountain to climb. Freddie's saying Eflin will be hurt in time. Just wait. Sure, absolutely. We all know that's it. If you bring that question up through, though, it isn't Keg Kimbrell's and Alvarado's resurgence from Cabell Kaufman too. Come from Cabell. Yeah, I mean, you can get that too. I mean, great for Kimbrell for getting number 400. That's awesome. Again, a little inconsistent. He gets a little nerve-wracking. I mean, I think it comes with any closer. But, I mean, he did let up a home run that night, but was still able to close out number 401. And Alvarado, speaking of accordingly, as of earlier tonight, I think tomorrow he's throwing a bullpen. They said he was hitting 98 miles per hour with some stiffness. He said there was some stiffness, but he was able to throw 98 miles per hour. So that's a good sign. Take that sign for what it's worth. You know what I mean? That's a good sign. I think coaching is overrated in baseball, but does make you wonder. I say that a lot too. I say that about basketball too, Joe. But if you need a leader to get, in somebody's face or work out the kinks or where the mechanics are issues. So it's a little bit not overrated, but it is. The players play. It's not the managers playing. But if the players are playing bad, it's for the manager to help diagnose the problem, like a mechanic. Think of them that way. If the car's making a funny noise or funny smells, you take it to the mechanic. You don't know what's wrong with it. You're not saying, well, my radiator's busted. You just know there's something wrong with it, or my hose there's a leak in a hose. That's for the mechanic to find out for you. And that's how I look at a baseball coach, especially a bench coach or a pitching coach or hitting coach. There's a mechanical problem, and you guys have to figure it out. And if it's between the ears, then you really got to figure it out. And that's where the manager, the skip, comes in that one. Joe's agreeing with Freddie Burns. He's always hurt. That's talking about Eflin. And Walter's chiming in. At least 2 hits tonight. Last year, a combined no-hitter against them. I guess that's a victory, Walt. I like how you're looking on the brighter side of things there. You got 2 guys on base, but you couldn't get anybody to second base. I think they said that's like the first time in like forever they couldn't get a guy on to second base when they had runners on. And also, it's the 12th time this season the team went scoreless through the first 5 innings. That can't happen. I'm not saying you have to put up crooked numbers every inning, but you need to spread out some runs to keep the pitchers off balance. Speaking of coaching, I understand the game is more analytical, but Buck Showalter almost blew it for the Mets because Cody was pitching sensational, and the Mets bullpen was really bad this year. Yeah, he almost did. I mean, it's a tough call. Kind of go back to the World Series for a second. People were roasting Rob Thompson for pulling out Zach Wheeler in a very pivotal game. You can go back. It's 2020 vision at that point. It's hard to say, and it is analytical. And I wish they could listen. Baseball's been analytical for decades. I want to remind people that, but this decade's where they're really make pitching decisions, like what pitch to throw and who to walk and when to pull guys out, even if they're pitching really well. There has to be a little bit more from the gut. You know what I mean? Like that's important. I agree. But analytics, I mean, every stat we talk about, home runs, ERAs, batting averages, they're all analytics. How a guy pitches against a right-hander or hits against a right-hander versus a left-hander, meaning that guy's going to be in on a lineup. That's all analytics. That's fine. It's when you use analytics to make a decision that should come from you as the manager. And that's why Baseball Manager is a little bit more important. Is when it comes down to those chess type decisions, and that can make or break something. Yeah, you're absolutely right, JJ. real quick, guys, let's remind you that this is brought to you by Dolan's Bar at 24 East Sellers Avenue in Ridley Park, right south of the airport in Delaware County. Great place to go. If you can't make the game, you can't go to Philly sports trips, take a flight somewhere, and you can't get tickets to go. Great place to hang out. They have Quizzo music, great time, great memorabilia giveaways. You never know who's going to be there. I've hung out with a lot of ex-Eagles, Phillies, Flyers there just because, and they just happen to be there. It's not because they had a gathering. They do that at times, but they just sometimes go there to hang out. So you never know who you're going to run into. Great people over there at Dolan's. I know a lot of the regulars from hanging out there. Good people, great time, great drinks, great food. Name it, you got it. PJ Dolan knows what people want, and he delivers it every time. Let's go around the league real quick. I'm going to look at tonight's scoreboard. That's then tonight being May 30th. Let's look at the scoreboard right now. At the bottom of the eighth, Houston's up 5-1 on the Twins. At top of the eighth, Chicago White Sox, playing a little bit better baseball lately, are up 7-3 on the Angels in Chicago. And Arizona's up 3-0 on Colorado in Arizona at the bottom of the third. And Atlanta is up 1-0 on Oakland at the end of the third in Oakland. New York is up 3-0 over Seattle in the top of the third. Pittsburgh is tied 1-1 in San Fran. Washington and LA Washington and the Dodgers are tied at 0 apiece in the mid-second. Texas, the Rangers they defeated the Detroit Tigers 10-6. Miami lost to San Diego 9-4. Cleveland lost to Baltimore 8-5. And let's see, I think Toronto beat Milwaukee 7-2. Boston lost to Cincinnati 9-8. The Royals lost to St. Louis 2-1, and Chicago beat Tampa Bay 2-1. And that is your scoreboard around the league tonight on May 30th, 2023. And I know it's still early to do so, but I like to check in on the standings. Currently, we are down in fourth place, 7 games out of first place, and 3.5 games behind the Mets and Marlins, who are tied at 4.5 at 28 and 27 after tonight's loss from the Marlins and win for the Mets. So we got some ground to make up here, and it's very makeable. I mean, we are lucky this year that we aren't playing against a team like the Mets were last year, who at this point were already up, 12 games on in first place at that point, because this mountain would be much more arduous to climb. Like I always tell people, thank God we're not the American League East, because we'd be in deep, deep trouble. I mean, the Red Sox are 10 games out of first place, and they are 2 games over 500. So not one team in that division is under 500. And Tampa Bay is still have a 39-17 with a 6.96 winning percentage. So that's another small blessing in disguise, which is pretty sad we have to go that way, but it's true. So tomorrow night's game is the Mets again in Citi Field. It's 7:10 start for the Mets, and it's again you're gonna have Aaron Nola taking the hill. So we got to see how that plays. We have to hope that you get the good, consistent Aaron Nola that we know can do well, because if we don't, we're going to have a very long series. And I think, like JJ said, this series will become an angry series if we can't get a win. We can't win the series, but also if we flub again. And like I said, it's Aaron Nola going up against Carrasco. Nolan toting a 4.59 ERA, and Carrasco toting a 6.75 ERA. So that's a 7:10 start. So hopefully we can make a little ground up on them, and maybe go for a chance to win the series. Guys, that is about it tonight. And like I said, here's the lineup tomorrow night. It's going to be coming. It's going to be coming hot, and it's going to be coming heavy, with Party on Broad at 6 and at 7, Philly Press Box Radio. I believe they have John Brazier on the Philly Press Box Radio, who is in charge. He is the guy in charge of all the fun stuff that goes down at Citizens Bank Park. A really good dude, really good listen. And he also knows his baseball. I believe he does a baseball podcast as well. And then Joe, Fred, and myself will be talking, because we talked a little bit about coaches tonight. You've had a good time. Join us tomorrow night at 8:30 live right here on Edge of Philly Sports, because we're going to be talking about all 4 skips or managers or coaches in the Major Four here in Philadelphia. So check that out tomorrow night. And of course, there'll be a Phightins final. So that's about it for me tonight. I want to thank all the people for joining in. It's so much better when we comment along. Kind of works like a psychological session here. You know what I mean? Guys are like my psychiatrist, and maybe I can help those out too, who are infuriated because it can be like being a baseball fan can be one of the most irritating things. I mean, like there's 17 games in the NFL season. You're gonna be happy or sad 17 times. The percentages are good for you most of the time. But when you have 162 games, woo, emotional roller coaster ride. So I'm glad you guys can all join in. Hope to see you guys next time. It would either be me, Matty B, Mike Loro, or Pat Bernard. So never know who's going to be popping on here to do the post game live with you guys here at the Phightins final here at EOP Sports. But check out EOPsports.com for all the written stuff. I actually just did an article summing up my thoughts from the Brave series, and if you read the article, you'll see that it gave me a little hope against a rival team, and it gave me a little hope to see this team. Like if you read in between the lines of the last series and what we want to take from that, like again, I'm not worried about moral victories, but you're starting to see improvement in areas. So keep posted. Hopefully, we'll be talking about a Phillies victory come tomorrow. Other than that, I'm Big Al. I hope you enjoyed the Phightins final, and we'll see you guys next time.